Okay, so hopefully everyone can hear me. My name's Tim Hale. I'm the Executive Director of Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I've been the Executive Director since December of 2020, and prior to that I was the Deputy Executive Director for projects. A little bit of my background, I actually started working at Caltrans in 1997. I worked at Caltrans for 6 years, mainly doing a lot of highway delivery work, obviously. And then I transitioned over to the private sector, worked at the private sector for about 14 years, doing a lot of project management, project delivery for large projects up to a few $1 billion. And then I started working at CCTA in 2017 as the Deputy Executive of Project. And in that role, I was responsible for the complete project portfolio and delivery of Measure J. So also with me is Shelly from BEEP, and you'll have a minute to be able to talk to her during Q&A. And then a few others in the audience. We got Jack Hall from CCTA, and then Emily Owen, she's also from CCTA. And then Rhea Cowie, he's also been helping with the project management, working for Advanced Mobility Group. And then way in the back is Lindy Johnson from CCTA, our Director of External Affairs. And I'm trying to see whoever I missed. Oh, Miguel? Tasha, thank you. Tasha is also here from BEEP. And then over here, sorry. What's that? And then I'm looking for the room. And then Karen Baker, and then also we got a lot of staff here. So Karen Baker is actually gonna be really supporting the customer service, during the project. So we definitely wanna make sure we're putting a kind of a name to the face as we continue with this demonstration project. And then, so we got a lot of people here from BEEP and from our supporting consultants here for the project. So, and with that, I'm gonna jump into the project and talk a little bit about Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I guess maybe a show of hands, who is familiar with Contra Costa Transportation Authority? Okay, about 15-20% of you, okay? Got my work cut out for me, okay? So Contra Costa Transportation Authority is a very small agency. We're actually an agency of 25 people. We're actually what's called a special district. And since 1988, we've been collecting 0.5% sales tax in Contra Costa County. And that sales tax has been really important and vital to transportation here in Contra Costa County. It raises roughly about $100 million to $120 million per year. The total measure right now, Measure J, was approved by the voters in Contra Costa County in 2004. We started collecting revenue in 2008. The measure expires in 2034. And the Measure J is actually split fairly half in terms of programs and projects. Programs will fund things like transit operations, so like county connections. So the shuttle that actually comes into Rossmoor is actually funded by Measure J. Also, we fund school programs, school bus programs. We fund ferry service. We fund programs for seniors, disabled people, and veterans. And so we have a huge focus around accessible transportation. So like paratransit service, county connections link service, that's also funded by Measure J. And so we're kind of the behind the scenes, if you will, in terms of a lot of the transportation projects and programs. We also deliver large capital projects. You might be familiar with the fourth bore of the Caldecott Tunnel. That was actually built by CCTA, not by Caltrans. So that was built by CCTA. It was funded by CCTA, by Measure J. It had about a $200 million allocation of Measure J that funded the tunnel. Also, all the improvements that you've seen on the 680 corridor was also funded by Measure J, also built by CCTA. The complete modernization of Highway 4 all the way out to Brentwood, including the extension of BART, over time from basically Concord BART Station all the way out to Antioch, was all funded and built by CCTA. And so the major transportation projects and programs in Contra Costa County has been done by Contra Costa Transportation Authority. So we've been a very valuable and really critical agency to the county for many years. And we plan to do that for the obviously unforeseeable future. One thing that's really unique to CCTA is that we are leaders in innovation, particularly around autonomous vehicles and advanced transportation technologies. CCTA actually owns and operates one of the largest autonomous vehicle testing facilities in the country at the former Contra Naval Weapons Station, which you might all be familiar with. So we currently use the former Naval Weapons Station for autonomous vehicle testing. We created Gomentum Station in 2014, and since then we've been learning how to use and how to deploy this technology in a safe way. And so our first deployment, and I'm going to get into this probably in the slides a little bit more, but our first deployment was in Bishop Branch, and that was for public use. It's actually free to the public. It's operating Monday through Friday. The Rossmoor project will be our second deployment. So we have experience in doing this, and we've been doing it for almost 10 years. So that's a little bit about CCTA, kind of who we are, what we do here in Contra Costa County. Well, I guess I already talked about all this stuff. So you have Gomentum Station, our Innovate 680 project, and then also advancing infrastructure, which is the fourth bore of the Caldecott Tunnel, as well as the extension of BART. So, and I think and I've also talked about this as well. So a big priority for CCTA is, supporting you and supporting our seniors and disabled people across the entire county. You might be familiar with the one-seat ride that's being done by our transit operators. That's being funded and supported by CCTA. And a new program that we actually just launched is the LIFE program, which is the Low Income Fair Equity Program. And this is a program to make sure that the people that really, really need this, they can't afford a paratransit ride to their medical appointment, gets access to those services. So we give them basically 10 tickets or 10 free rides per month. And so that's a really critical program we're offering across the county right now with our transit operators. A huge initiative that CCTA is undertaking is the Accessible Transportation Strategic Plan. And in Contra Costa County, there's roughly about 24 accessible transportation services, pretty fragmented. Unless you know the system, it's really hard to get into and find out what you're eligible for. And so CCTA right now, we just created the Office of Accessibility and Equity to really focus on a one call, one click that has a complete eligibility and ridership list through our entire county, which does not exist today. It also has a complete comprehensive list of all the services. And so that way we can connect people to services to meet their needs, but also help determine us and identify the gaps in services so we can make sure we're filling those gaps with additional funding into the future. So this is some of our latest innovation projects. I've already mentioned one of them, which is the Bishop Branch deployment. So we launched the Bishop Branch deployment back in April of 2023. It's been a huge success. I'm happy to report there's been no incidents. And that project so far has serviced roughly about 1,600 people since it's been open. And what we're trying to do with this technology is really understand where it can fit and how it can integrate into our public transportation system. We see Contra Costa County, one of our biggest problems with transportation is we have a first and last mile problem. It's really hard to get around in Contra Costa County from going from your home to the community center or to the BART station or even to downtown Walnut Creek without having the drive. And so we believe that these shared autonomous vehicles will be able to provide that access and independence that everyone really deserves and needs to continue to have good quality of life as you're kind of looking to getting and accessing certain parts of our community. And so that's how we see these shared autonomous vehicles really fitting into our community. So before we can, do that, have picked a very set of specific use cases where we want to demonstrate this technology and get feedback and really understand how it's going to fit. What do you think about the technology? How do you think this technology can improve? Or how can this technology help you? And maybe we might have it wrong. Maybe we are not using it in the right places and we might need to be thinking about other places. And so this is where you come in, where you can help us and tell us where we should be using this technology. And that's what this project is all about. It's a demonstration project right here in Rossmoor to really understand how this technology can support you as a senior community. And again, we might have it wrong, but we want to learn from you and learn how this technology can help you. And so that's the PRESTO Rossmoor project. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that project in a moment. The other project is the PRESTO Martinez project. And so that project is being done with a different form factor than what you see out here today. It's a Toyota autonomous Toyota Sienna, which is a minivan, and it's wheelchair accessible rear loading. The shuttle that's out there out in the courtyard here is also wheelchair accessible. And so that project is actually being done in partnership with County Connection, our transit operator, and also Contra Costa Health Services. And prior to the pandemic, they reached out to CCTA and said, we have a problem. Our problem is that we have a growing rate of absenteeism to medical appointments because of the lack of transportation or reliable transportation. Sometimes I hear stories that a paratransit van may or may not show up, and it leaves you stranded. And so this is what this technology can help you do, is help fill in those gaps, get you to where you need to go, get you to your medical appointment when maybe you don't have access to reliable transportation. And so this project is really focused on serving the Martinez area, but also the county medical regional facilities in Martinez, including Kaiser. So that's what that project is all about. All of these shuttle projects, both the Bishop Ranch, the Rossmoor and Martinez projects, are all being funded by federal grants. And just as much as we're interested in how this technology can support you, the state government and the federal government is also interested in how this technology can support you. And so we were awarded a grant back in 2019, the Automated Driving System grant, and they're particularly interested in, obviously, number one, safety. Number two, how can we support rulemaking or regulations around this technology? And number three, how do we collect data from these vehicles so we can support that rulemaking? So those are the three kind of main goals, and CCTA was one of 8 agencies across the entire country that was awarded a grant, and that kind of gives you a sense of our national reputation to be able to do these projects. So the PRESTO shuttles, what we wanted to do is we wanted to come up with a brand where you can see and say, I've been in that shuttle, this is new, this is innovative, this is really about personal mobility. This is really what our new phrase is, kind of your ride, your way. Being there when you need it, and being whatever form factor or need you have, or I don't want to be redundant, right? Having the right form factor that fits your need. And so that's what PRESTO is all about. For example, PRESTO, it's there, right? It's your ride, it's your way. So that was kind of the thought process of creating this brand called PRESTO. We want it to be innovative, we want it to be fun, we want it to be exciting, and we want it to be different, and really demonstrate that we're trying to transform transportation. And so through PRESTO at Bishop Ranch, when we launched in April of 2023, was the first publicly available shared autonomous vehicle in the state of California and in the Bay Area. And that was also building upon, in 2017, CCTA was the first agency in the state of California to actually test these types of vehicles on public roads. So as you can know, we have a lot of experience in terms of testing and validating this technology, and now we feel comfortable to really bring it out to the public to experience it for you firsthand. And we're really interested to hear what you know or what you think about this technology. Some of you may not like it, some of you might get excited about it. We want to know that. We want to know what you like and what you don't like. We want to know how, again, I can't emphasize this enough more, we want to know how this technology can help you. And if it can't help you, we want to know that too. And so this is really about low-speed shuttles. These shuttles don't go very fast. These shuttles go roughly 12 to 15 miles an hour. And there's intended to be that slow for a reason, and that's because we want to make sure that these rides are safe. That's our number one priority, is safety. And so as you look at these shuttles, you might notice that there's actually kind of a cockpit inside these shuttles. And you might think, well, I thought these were driverless. They are driverless, but we feel the need to have a safety attendant in these vehicles, really to help you, help support you. And this is no different than having an attendant in an elevator back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. So think of it in that way, right? People were afraid to take elevators. They didn't know how to operate an elevator. And so there was an attendant in the elevator to greet you, help you navigate the elevator, also help you, and now, many years later, we've built a lot of trust in the elevator, and now we're very happily to get on with no attendant. And that took many years. And that's our approach at CCTA, is we want to make sure we're deploying this technology in a safe way. We want to make sure that we're doing it, everyone is comfortable. And at some point, we will take the attendant out of the vehicle, but we will only do that when we've built trust with you, built trust with the public, and really ourselves built trust with the community around this technology. So this is just a couple of examples that we're not the only ones trying to solve this problem. There is a few other projects across the country. We are not the only leader in the country that's really looking at these technologies, but in Sun City, Arizona, a retirement city, a retirement community, May Mobility, which is one of our other partners, is doing an autonomous shuttle. Also in 2 communities in Florida are also doing autonomous shuttles. And then also in Detroit, and you can see there the Navia shuttle. The bottom picture is the Navia, and that's the form factor that we have at Bishop Ranch. And you might ask, well, why do they have something different? Because we're trying to test new and different technologies. It's the same way that someone may have bought a beta VHS or a beta VCR versus a VHS back in the day, like that. We were testing new technologies. What standard was better? What worked? And I think a lot of us ended up with VHS, right? And beta kind of went to the sideways. And so that's what we're doing. We're testing new technologies. We're trying to understand what is really the most suitable and best technology in the right form factor, depending on what use case we're trying to solve. So this has been a great partnership with Rossmoor. This project has been on the docket for many years because we did, like I said, we got awarded this automated driving system grant back in 2019, and we've been going through the process of, soliciting an RFP, picking the right technology for you, validating that technology, working with Beep, our operating partner, our technology provider, and we wanted to make sure that we did everything we can to make sure before we brought it to Rossmoor that this was the right vehicle, the right time, and also the right use case. We want to make sure that everyone feels safe and comfortable in these vehicles. And I think as we go through this process, as I mentioned, it's going to be important to get input from you. And I'll spend some time on another slide, but we've done everything we can to make sure there's every way, every channel for you to provide input into this project. Whether it be a survey on the shuttle itself, an actual phone number to call, on our website to leave a comment, an email address to send an email. Every way we possibly can, we want to get feedback from you about this project and about the technology. So what are the benefits? I think I've already talked a lot about this, but one of the major benefits is going to be access. We want to make sure everyone has access to the community center, has access to the fitness center. We want to make sure that this technology is helping safety on our roads. These vehicles, they follow the rules of the roadway. They're not going to cross a stripe. They're not going to cross a double yellow line. They're not going to go faster than the speed limit. And so these vehicles are specifically designed for a route, a fixed route for that matter. And they know it knows its route. There's a lot of time that gets put into in advance, and you'll see the shuttle over the next couple weeks making that loop, gathering data, mapping the route. It's going through the process of making sure that it knows every inch and nook and cranny of that route. It wants to be safe. We want it to be safe. And so we also want to make sure this technology is here to support you. Really provide, independence, get you excited, get you where you need to go. And if this demonstration, which is a very short segment between the fitness center and the community center, is successful, and you like this technology, then hopefully we can continue and expand. If you don't like the technology, then we'll remove it. And so it's really up to you. This is not CCA coming in and trying to really push anything. This is really about us really understanding how this technology can help you and support you. So this is the PRESTO Rossmoor project. Our anticipated launch date is July 15th, the week of July 15th. And the way the operations are, it's going to be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. There'll be a couple hours there where we'll actually have a redundancy of 2 shuttles to help with what we call peak periods. And to give you maybe a little bit about the experience, it's going to have, actually I think that might be the next slide here. Yeah, so to give you a little bit about what you're going to experience, this is what's really important to me. The technology is one thing, but I'm also more interested in the customer experience and making sure you have a positive experience through the project. And so there's going to be 2 stops, and there will be a shuttle that arrives at that stop approximately every 20 minutes. And so there may be a time where you walk up to the shuttle or walked up to the stop and either the shuttle's not there or it just left. And so we will have a map, and we also have a website that'll be able to tell you when the next shuttle will arrive at that stop. So and I think that's something that we want to make sure you have that information. You know when the shuttle's going to be there. You know where it's at in the route. And so that's kind of the first thing is, how do I access this shuttle? Where do I go? And so there should be a little sign, little white TP sign that says this is a stop. This is a point of entry, I'll say, into the route. And so you'll be able to wait there for the shuttle to arrive, and it should arrive every 20 minutes. Once the shuttle arrives, the doors will open, and there'll be an attendant there to greet you. And that attendant is there to, one, make sure that you're having a positive experience, a safe experience, making sure that the shuttle is navigating and being safe throughout all the operations, but also to answer any questions that you might have about the technology, about the project, get feedback and input, and you might sit there and say, I really don't like this. Or you might sit there and say, wow, I really love this. And again, that's the feedback that we want. And I think it's important to give it to the attendant, and also there'll be a survey to fill out in the shuttle as well. And so again, we want that feedback. That's what's important about this project. And so as you think about this service, as I mentioned, once you get on the shuttle, you talk to an attendant, you'll have access to the attendant, it'll be going along the way, and the attendant will be in the cockpit, and he'll be observing everything, like a normal driver would be doing. And in some ways, the shuttle will actually come to a stop. And then in order for it to go again, the attendant will actually have the green light go button, And so again, this is just another safety feature to make sure that the attendant is making sure that the vehicle is either entering an intersection or making a right-hand turn or stopping where it needs to stop, and then it's allowing it to continue forward, And so everything that we're trying to do here is really making sure that you have a safe experience on these shuttles. The information and feedback, as I mentioned, is in multiple ways. We have ridepresto.com, which I think Lindy got launched today. And then we also have this phone number, and we'll make sure this information gets out into Rossmoor News and everywhere it needs to go, all your channels, to make sure you have access, again, to help provide feedback into the project. And so if I haven't said it yet, this project connects the fitness center to the clubhouse, to the community center. And so hopefully that's pretty clear on this map. And we wanted, again, pick a very specific use case and to make sure that the route, the vehicle, is safe. That's our number one priority. So now I'm going to turn it over to Shelly to talk a little about Beep, our operator, and what their approach is, a little bit about their technology, and how they pick this technology. And then it'll come back to me and we'll start Q&A. And hopefully, am I going too long? I feel like I'm talking a lot. No, we're good? Okay, all right.
Hi everyone, my name is Shelly Karen. I am the Client Success Manager for the project here at Rossmoor. So my job is to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible, to work with our partners at CCTA and at AMG, as well as all the departments of our company to make sure that we deliver the best and safest product to you. So the 4 things that I really want to talk about the platform that you'll be experiencing here, which is the AliAxa, which you were able to see if you were able to do that for the presentation. There's time after the presentation to see it as well. Talk a little bit about the regulatory compliance that we've done and completed to be able to have that technology here with you. Talk a little bit again about the Rossmoor operations that you'll experience, some of the activities that you could see going on before that launch date, and a little bit about us. So this is your AliAxa PRESTO. It seats up to 7 people. The autonomous software is AXA Driver. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The autonomous stack, so that is the sensors that our shuttle uses to make sure that it stays safe as it's driving itself. So it uses cameras, LiDAR, radar, and some AI to sense and predict the environment and route changes. So we partner with state and federal regulatory agencies to make sure that we meet every safety standard that we possibly can. The National Highway Traffic Safety Association Administration and the Federal Transit Administration, we work with the California DMV as well as the California Public Utilities Commission. All of these play an important role in making sure that we have dotted our I's and crossed our T's as far as making sure that these vehicles are fit to take the road and meet all of the regulations. You'll notice that the shuttle has a license plate on it. It has been registered in the state of California. We have a California AV testing permit to operate both shuttles here. We have the clearance of the California Public Utilities Commission as well as the federal approvals that we need. We do operate these vehicles in different parts of the country. In Florida, just outside of Orlando, we have the largest private sector deployment of our shuttles with 5 routes, several shuttles operating at once, and different types of shuttles. So we are able to support, the Navias and the Ollies going at the same time. We also are working with the Jacksonville Transit to do the largest public sector deployment down in Jacksonville. A little bit about NHTSA. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration is an agency of the Department of Transportation whose primary focus is safety. To be able to run these vehicles, we do have to go through a waiver process. It's called a Box 7 waiver process, and that includes questions, forms, just letting them know about the vehicle, the route, and the operating parameters. The California DMV, we have 3 levels of regulatory compliance there. So as I mentioned, we have a California AV testing permit. So what that means is that we've met with the California DMV. We've talked about the vehicle, its intended use. They've looked at our safety programs, our training programs, all of those things to approve us to run in the state of California. And then as we add different locations, so we run in Bishop Ranch, we run in Palo Alto, and now we'll run here in Rossmoor. Like I said, all of our vehicles are registered at the California DMV, so you'll see that license plate on there. And in addition to that, all of our drivers have been screened by the California DMV and have been issued safety driver certifications. So the permit for the California Public Utilities Commission, we actually get a waiver from because we meet some different requirements for them. So all of our passenger transportation occurs on a fixed route. It's all 98% or more, it's 100% here, is operated exclusively within the limits of one single city, and we don't charge fares to our passengers. For the training, there are 3 different types of training that we conduct. So we have our safety operator training. That attendant on board goes through rigorous training. Your attendants here have gone actually to Florida, where we operate these vehicles, have operated them in here in California, and when the shuttles are testing on the roads, they will continue that operator training. Our first responders, we take the time to talk to all of the emergency services in the area, from the police to the fire to the EMT, to let them know, like, should you need to respond to any incident on the shuttles, this is the best way to do it. These are what some buttons are. If you need to move the shuttle, this is the best way to do it. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with our shuttle being in that area. And then finally, I know that you guys have your transit bus that goes on around here. So we're going to meet with them as well, let them know about the shuttles, how to best interact with them, and just some general best practices from them as well, so we can really be ingrained and service your community the best that we can. So I just wanted to show you a few pictures. Community involvement is very important to us at BEEP. We really want everyone to feel comfortable with the service that we provide. We want them to feel comfortable letting us know their feedback, and we want to service you the best way that we can. Just to kind of give you an overview, since our launch, we've had 179,300 live road hours. We've carried over 154 passengers across all of our deployments and trained over 600 first responders. Some of the places that we've had deployments include the city of Peoria in Arizona, of course, the city of Orlando, Jacksonville, of course, Contra Costa County. We've got Peachtree Corners, which is just outside of Atlanta. We were at Yellowstone National Park with the National Park Service, UF, and we've worked with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Just a quick snapshot of our firsts to give you an idea of where we've come since 2019. We started with our first public road AV shuttle waiver, to where we are now, which is where we're launching these vehicles in different locations, different platforms, as well as we're launching a new vehicle type that we announced at CES. So the delivery project, when we deliver a project like this, we really look at four main things. We look at the planning, deployment, management, and activation. So we really want to look at all of these pieces and make sure that it is smooth from soup to nuts. And that's us. Thank you.
All right, so just kind of next steps here. So I think, starting this week, the shuttles have arrived in Rossmoor this past Monday. So you will be seeing more of the shuttles, and they will be testing and validating and commissioning the route between now and the July 15th. Which will be our launch date, and we plan to hold a launch and a media event at that time, and I hope you all are kind of come to that. And then, as I mentioned, I can't stress this enough, community feedback from all of you is probably the most important part of this project. And so, as I mentioned, there'll be all ways to provide feedback, and we'll also be doing community engagement throughout the entire project. And just so you know, the deployment is a one-year demonstration. To help satisfy our requirements from the federal grant, collect enough data, hopefully gives us enough time to understand the use case and whether or not you like the shuttle or you don't like the shuttle. And so it's a one-year deployment throughout the following year, and then at that point we'll do a formal kind of program evaluation and report that to the Federal Transit Administration. So again, community feedback, extremely important, and we look forward to all your feedback. And so I think we're heading into the comment period, questions and comments. I believe there are comment cards, and I think, who's collecting the comment cards again? Is it Emily? Emily and Lindy are collecting comment cards, so please write down your questions, get those to Lindy or Emily, and we will do the best we can to answer your questions. If we don't have answers, I will certainly follow up and try to get you the best answers. Okay, so I have a few cards here, and we'll try to do the best we can to answer your questions. Thank you, Karen. I might ask, Jack, you want to come take a seat? So this is my technical team here, so because I can't answer the questions. I'm the 30,000-foot guy. So, okay, so this comment is, what percent of Rossmoor residents don't or can't drive anymore? Who in Rossmoor needs a ride from Gateway to the fitness center? And I don't have an answer to your question on the first one. Do you know the answer? What percent of Rossmoor residents don't and can't drive anymore? Anyone? I don't have an answer to that question. Maybe what we can do is talk a little bit about why the route between Rossmoor, between the fitness center and the Gateway Clubhouse. And so because the question is the use case and who will actually be using it. So maybe you all want to talk about how we pick the use case?
Sure. So my name is Jack Hall, the Intelligent Transportation System Program Manager at CCTA. And the route was chosen mainly in working with Rossmoor is the parking lot at the Tice Fitness Center is impacted, typically very full. And the gateway parking lot usually has empty spaces. So the goal there is to be able to allow people to use the fitness center, and then they can park down here at the gateway parking lot.
Yeah, and I think the important thing there is we relied on the community. We actually talked with Golden Rain and Rossmoor, and I think they assisted us to help kind of pick the best route for this technology, for the use case. And like I said, we're trying to keep the use case fairly simple, to really understand, to give you an opportunity to ride and choose to ride or choose not to ride. And so I think we want to really choose the most simplest use cases possible. So, okay, so next question is, will Presto travel to the nearby shopping center as well? And the question is no. I think there's been a lot of questions about getting the Safeway and getting to the shopping center, and if this demonstration is successful, which we hope it'll be successful, then yeah, we hopefully, obviously pending funding, we would hope to expand it to the shopping center and to other parts of Rossmoor. Okay, so comment, and this is my apologies. Rossmoor has 4 clubhouses. The clubhouse, as you call it, is the Gateway Clubhouse, so my apologies. So the clubhouse it's going to is called the Gateway Clubhouse. And it says, where will the Prestos charge? And does it charge does the charge last all day? So tell us a little bit about the electric vehicle charging and where it's going to be charging.
Yeah, absolutely. So the vehicles right now are charging over on the side of the Gateway Clubhouse. You'll see there are 2 tents that are erected in spots, and that's where the shuttles would charge right now. So throughout the day, from 7 to 5 p.m., we will have 1 shuttle en route. We'll kind of charge one while one is running. There will be 3 hours during the day where there will be an overlap. We'll be announcing those hours to make sure that we meet some of those peak time needs. Moving forward, as the deployment continues, we will be moving the charging station and freeing up those chargers.
Okay, so, and I think the cool thing about this project and the technology is that it's all electric. I mean, I think that's really cool. And I think the other thing is that just so you all know that and from how long it will be charging for, how long the charge will last for, it's generally like 5 to 6 hours?
Yeah, it's generally about 5 to 6
hours. 5 to 6 hours, right? And that really depends on obviously the heat, right? If you're using the air conditioning in the unit, it depends on the grade, if it's a steep grade or a flat grade. And so there's a lot of factors involved in terms of how long, what the run time or charge time will actually be for the shuttle. All right, next question we have here is, given such a small, limited route, why does the shuttle only run every 20 minutes?
Sure, I can take this one. So I know it seems like a short run, but when the shuttle is running, remember, it's not going 25 miles an hour. It is going that 10 to 15 miles per hour. And we do like to add a little time on each side to allow our passengers to get on and off safely, as well as to navigate anything like the 4-way intersection, as well as any traffic that it might might incur over near the fitness center.
This next question, I think, is, when will it come to my house and pick me up? So I hope we get there. I have every confidence that we will get there. I think right now, again, we're taking small bites, right? And I think we want to make sure we're doing this in a smart way. But our goal, and I would probably say in the near term, not midterm or long term, but definitely in the near term, our goal is to get these vehicles to people's houses and pick them up and take them where they want to go. I mean, that's really our goal. And so, I don't know, Shelley, what, 5 years?
That's the hope, is 5
Yeah,
years.
yeah. So I would say roughly within 5 years. So, yeah, go, Jack.
Sure. And so as part of this project, this automated driving system grant that we received from the federal government, we have a quarterly meeting with all the awardees. And these projects are fairly difficult to get out of the ground. And then the federal government is saying, hey, we want to, if this is something that the Rossmoor community wants to continue, there's a good chance that we can get federal dollars to try to expand the project, depending on if that's what you desire. But I mean, when we were at the Earth Day event, we did hear that we would like to see these shuttles traveling throughout the community, which is something that we would like to see too.
Yeah, and I think maybe just give you some insights into what maybe Shelley was talking about earlier in terms of getting the approvals, for example. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, because these vehicles only go, I'll say 15 miles per hour, this particular shuttle, per DMV and NHTSA, are only allowed to travel on roads that are posted at 25 miles an hour or less, right? And so as the technology continues to evolve and get better, and be able to reach higher speeds, which is, I mean, Shelley didn't really talk a lot about this, but BEEP is very and highly interested and invested into what we're calling the next generation shuttle, which would be automotive grade, would go up to 45, 55 miles an hour. That shuttle is going to be available probably in 2026. And so very much in the near term, we will have a shuttle, have a form factor, also overcome some of our existing regulatory framework, both from the federal and state. And I think you will see a huge leap forward with this technology in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think that's when we'll be in a position to really start thinking, obviously pending funding, as Jack mentioned, but we'll be in a position to start taking this technology directly to your doorstep. Okay, how many residents go from the gateway to the fitness center? I do not know the answer to that question. Does anyone know the answer to that question? Yeah, so again, we're starting small. Little bites at the project. Okay, so I know this is hot news today. And so with all the accidents in Rossmoor, including today's Rossmoor news about a golf cart accident badly injured a woman, do we really want a driverless plane? So one, I apologize that someone was injured with a golf cart. I hope that she's okay. Is she okay? No. Okay, so I'm really sorry about that. This technology is really there to prevent situations like this. Out at Gomentum Station, we actually have test dummies, and we have equipment that we can actually test the safety of these vehicles. And what's being tested is really what we call the safety envelope. And so in this vehicle, because of the technology and because of the way we're able to validate and test, this vehicle stops on a dime. For example, Jack was brave enough to actually walk right in front of the vehicle, and it stopped right before it hit him. Okay?
Had a little space.
With a little bit of space. Okay? And so I think that's how this technology is going to help make our roads safer, is that it's going to be able to think faster and actually drive safer than an actual human driver. And I actually, if you want, I can send you reports and data that has proven such across the country. But that's what this technology is about, is to make our roads safer. Okay, this one is, will you eventually ride along Tice Creek and Gateway Fitness? Most passengers need a railing to get on and off. The bus is too high to easily get on and off. Where will walkers and canes go? We need a way for seniors who don't drive to get to events in Rossmoor in the evening, shows at 7 and getting home. So I think the last question, I think that's our goal too. Our goal is to use this technology to get you to events. That way you don't have to rely on others to get you to where you need to go. That's the benefit of this technology. And I think in terms of where walkers and things will go, I think I'll let Shelly and Jack answer that question. I think I can answer it too, but I want to give them an opportunity to talk about kind of the, wheelchair accessible and where will people sit and where can they put their walkers and canes and so forth. What's the experience like?
So there are a couple different experiences. So if you are using a mobility device like a walker or a cane, we have a couple options. So each shuttle has a manual ramp that we can deploy to allow you to go up. If you're more comfortable stepping up, and if it's a little too high, we are able to kneel the vehicle as well. On the right-hand side, as you're facing the vehicle to load, there is a handle for you to use, and there is an attendant on board again to help. If you do use a mobile motorized wheelchair or a wheelchair, again, you can utilize that ramp. We have a system called the Q-Straint system, and that system, if you look on the floor of the shuttle, you'll see there are little silver pucks. The system clips into that, secures the frame of the wheelchair or motorized wheelchair to the frame of the vehicle, and in addition to that, there's a seatbelt for that passenger as well. So all of our passengers have to wear seatbelts at all times, and that does include our passengers that are in a wheelchair or a motorized wheelchair.
Yeah, and keep in mind that there will be a safety attendant. So the safety attendant will be there to deploy the ramp and assist you to get on the shuttle, and to, again, making sure everyone gets on and off the shuttle safely. Why are there no seats? Do we need to sign up for rides, or will there be a schedule? So the seats are a little different in this shuttle. It's not like your normal seat in a car. If you go into the shuttle and you kind of look to your left, there's kind of wraparound seating, and in that wraparound seating, there's seatbelts. And so it's a little different than sitting in like a normal bus or a normal car where you've got more cockpit type seating. So there are seats, and as Shelly just mentioned, everyone's required to sit. Everyone's required to have a seatbelt while we're traveling in the shuttle. And I think I mentioned this in my presentation, but you do not have to sign up for rides. The rides are free. I did forget to mention that. So these rides are free. We're not charging these rides during the demonstration period. And the schedule, like I said, is about every 20 minutes at every single stop. And so starting at 7 a.m., 7:20, 7:40, so every 20 minutes throughout the entire day. And as Shelly mentioned, there will be times, 3 1-hour segments will be 2 shuttles. Okay, how long will this project go on? Expand route to event center. Will the route impede car traffic flow in only 2 steps? So I'll let you guys cover the last 2, but I think we've kind of covered how long the project will go on. So it's a 1-year demonstration. We would love to expand if you are all willing and excited about expansion, and obviously pending funding. And then I think the route, does it impede traffic flow?
We haven't really experienced that in our other deployment locations. Usually what happens is the shuttle does travel a little bit slower, but it's in such short bursts where there's one lane that there are opportunities to get around it when possible.
Is there a plan to extend service beyond the 2 stops? I think I've answered that question. As a residence, will we get regular updates about the process? Yes, I think, as I mentioned in the last slide, there will be continued community engagement through the process. And we will have, working with Rossmoor News and your community, we want to make sure, again, that we're constant engagement, constant feedback with during the entire process. This is not CCTA deploying a shuttle and coming back a year later and saying, how'd it go? This is going to be constant engagement by CCTA with BEEP. Same exact thing that we're doing down at Bishop Ranch. Does the vehicle have the ability... I'm sorry. Yeah. So does the vehicle have the ability of contacting the police department That's why we have a safety attendant on the vehicle. The safety attendant will be trained to contact emergency services as well as the police department. And the vehicle itself, I don't think it can contact the police directly, can it? I don't think it can.
Each attendant on board has a device, obviously, to be able to contact, but all of our vehicles, bless you, are monitored by our BEEP Command Center in Orlando, Florida, so they can see the shuttle at all times, and they're in constant communication with the attendants on board. So should there be a situation where they do need to contact an emergency service of some type, but they are physically unable to, we can do that from Florida.
Okay. And then will the route be expanded during the 1-year trial? And I'm going to make an executive decision here. If you all like it, there might be a potential to expand if you all really like it. If the performance and feedback is positive and we're moving in the right direction, then yeah, we can definitely discuss how we may expand it during the trial. Jack and Shelley might disagree with me, but that was an executive decision.
That's great, Tim.
So,
I'm writing that down.
all right. Will there be benches at the stops? I haven't visited the stops. Are there going to be benches at the stops?
I haven't
We'll get
taken
back
a
to
look.
you on
Yeah,
that.
we'll definitely
We'll
get back to you on that
I'm
one.
going to put that one over here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, might try this for Gateway Fitness Center. Would prefer my house. What would I pay? Dollar fee for this per trip? No charge. Currently, I walk between Gateway and Fitness Center since we had so many car accidents on cars in the parking lot. And so, well, if that's the case, hopefully this shuttle will be good for you. And also, thanks for the sparkling water and cookies. Yes, you're welcome. You're very welcome. It's our pleasure. Okay, so where are the transponders located which guide the vehicles on the limited routes? I'll turn that to Shelley. What is the technology? How does it know where it's going?
There are no transponders along the route. So when we talked earlier about you're going to see that shuttle out on the route, the shuttle is programming the route in. So each of our shuttles is programmed, again, on a digital, think of it like a digital like railroad track. They use GNSS and GPS positioning to make sure that they're along that route. And the LiDAR, the cameras and the radar that I mentioned earlier are always monitoring that railroad track. And should anything break the LiDAR's contact with that the GPS positioning of the railroad tracks, the shuttle will stop automatically. So let's say we're coming up to the Gateway Clubhouse stop and someone gets a little uneasy on their feet and like tips over, like they're gonna go into the shuttle's path, the shuttle will stop automatically. Also, that's why our safety attendant is on board. So there's no infrastructure in place other than what we program into the vehicle.
Yeah. And maybe I'll give you maybe explain a little bit about the technology. So this technology is set up to operate on a fixed route. So it can't just go anywhere. It has to be on a fixed route. It has to know its route. And so what's going to be happening over the next 6 weeks is there's going to be mapping of the route. And basically what we do is we build a digital map or a digital scan of the entire route, and that model is loaded into the vehicle. And then what happens, and I'm very much simplifying this, but then what happens is if you go look at the vehicle, you'll see a number of sensors, cameras, all strategically located on the front, side, and rear of the vehicle. And so there's LiDAR. LiDAR is basically like a 3D scanner. So I can put a LiDAR in this room and it would build a 3D computer model of the inside of this room. And then radar is sonar, right? So basically like distance and pinging, right? Distance. It's all about distance and object to distance relationship. And then there's cameras, right? So video cameras, if you will, very high-tech video cameras. So those three pieces of technology create basically like a fused real-time model of what's happening in front of the vehicle. And that's what its eyes are. and it's comparing that real-time model to the mapped model that's loaded in the vehicle, and it's constantly looking and changing, and so that's how it sees along the route, is using what's called sensor fusion and high definition mapping. And that's how it determines where, and then relative to its location within that map, it's using a extremely high fidelity GPS location relative to its location within that route. So that's how it sees where it's going, and that's how it knows where it's at within the route. Anything, you're good?
You're good. You're hired.
All right, good. All right. During the test, can the demo either stop or expand? I think yes, it can either stop. Like if this demonstration is not successful within 6 months, we can stop it. Hopefully that's not the case. Or we can expand it, as I just mentioned. And then this is a good note. A good use case to expand the service would be to add a loop around the Creekside Golf Course to the event center, then a loop to the Rossmoor Shopping Center. So I think full disclosure, going to the shopping center is going to be problematic because the posted speed limits there are greater than 25 miles an hour. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're thinking about expansion. So, all right. And then last question, and I saved the best for last. Will dogs be allowed on the shuttle? I don't even know the answer to that question. I've never gotten this question before.
So your pet dog will not be, unfortunately, allowed on the shuttle, but if you do have a serviced animal, those serviced animals are allowed on the shuttle.
So there you have it. Service animals are allowed on the shuttle. So these are all the questions I have. Excellent questions, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for these questions. And I hope to continue to get feedback from you every step of the way in this project. I'm counting on it. And thank you for your time. And we're excited about this project, excited partnering with you. And we look forward to seeing you all at the launch date in the July 15th.